The first time I really understood New York, I was standing on a corner in lower Manhattan watching people move. Not tourists, workers. People heading somewhere with a pace that felt almost aggressive. Nobody was running, but nobody was walking either. It was something in between, something urgent. That's when I realized this city operates on a frequency that most places don't. There's a pressure here that never quite lets up, a sense that time is always running out, that if you're not moving, you're falling behind. And I think that pressure, that constant forward motion, explains more about New York's financial system than any textbook ever could. Because New York didn't build its power on stability. It didn't build it on patience or caution or long-term planning. New York built its power on risk, on the willingness to bet, to move fast, to accept that sometimes you lose everything, and then to get up and do it again. That's not a criticism, it's just an observation. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The whole city runs on it. I've spent a lot of time thinking about why certain places become financial centers, why money flows to some cities and not others. And there are obvious answers: infrastructure, regulation, talent, location, all of that matters. But there's something else, something harder to measure. It's the culture of the place, the way people think about opportunity and danger, the way they respond to uncertainty. In New York, uncertainty isn't something to avoid, it's something to exploit. That's a very specific mindset, and it attracts a very specific kind of person. People who see volatility as opportunity, who get bored when things are stable, who need the pressure to perform. Wall Street wasn't built by cautious people. It was built by gamblers, by people who looked at risk and saw profit instead of danger. That's been true for over a century, and it's still true today. Go back to the beginning, and you can see it forming. New York in the late 1800s was chaos. Fortunes made and lost in weeks. Panics and crashes and collapses. Banks failing. Markets swinging wildly. By modern standards, it was insane. Completely unregulated, completely unpredictable. And yet, that's when New York became the financial capital of America. Not despite the chaos. Because of it, the chaos created opportunity. It attracted people who could handle it, who thrived in it. And those people built the systems that still run today. There's a mythology around Wall Street that's part truth and part exaggeration. The idea of the lone trader making millions on a single bet, the banker who sees what no one else sees, the fund manager who times the market perfectly. Most of that is fantasy. The reality is messier, but the underlying truth is real. New York rewards risk-taking. It punishes hesitation. If you're slow, someone faster will take your place. If you're cautious, someone bolder will take your opportunity. The system is designed to favor aggression. I think about this when I watch the markets move. Billions of dollars changing hands in seconds. Decisions made under pressure that would paralyze most people. And somehow it works. Not perfectly, not without crashes. But it works often enough to keep attracting more money, more people, more risk. There's a question that comes up whenever I talk about New York's financial culture. Is this sustainable? Can a system built on risk keep running forever? Or is it always one bad bet away from collapse? I don't know the answer. Nobody does. But what I've noticed is that New York has collapsed before, multiple times. The panic of 1907, the crash of 1929, the crisis of 2008. Each time, people said the system was broken, that this time was different, that the recklessness had finally caught up. And each time, the system came back. Different, maybe. Regulated a little more, but fundamentally the same. Still built on risk. Still rewarding speed over caution. Still attracting people who think they can beat the odds. That tells me something. Either New York is incredibly resilient, or it's incredibly lucky. Or maybe both. Maybe the willingness to take risk creates a kind of flexibility that more cautious systems don't have. When things break, you rebuild fast. You don't wait. You don't analyze for years. You just start again. That's very American in a way. The belief that failure isn't permanent. that you can always start over, that what matters isn't whether you fall, but whether you get back up. I'm not sure that's entirely true. Some people fall and don't get back up. Some failures are permanent, but the belief is powerful. It shapes behavior. It makes people willing to take chances they might not take otherwise. And Wall Street runs on that belief. Every trader, every banker, every fund manager, they all believe they're the exception, that they'll win where others lost, that their judgment is better, their timing is better, their nerve is stronger. Most of them are wrong. The statistics are brutal. Most active traders lose money over time. Most hedge funds underperform simple index funds. Most of the brilliance you hear about is survivorship bias. We remember the winners because the losers disappear quietly. But the belief persists, and the system keeps running because you don't need everyone to succeed. You just need enough success stories to keep the dream alive, to keep new people coming, new money flowing, new risks being taken. It's almost religious when you think about it. Faith in a system that you know, intellectually, is stacked against you. But you believe anyway, because what's the alternative? Giving up? Playing it safe? That's not what you came to New York for. Let me talk about how this shows up in daily life. Because it's not just Wall Street. The risk mentality permeates everything. Living in New York is expensive, brutally expensive. Rent that would buy you a house in most cities. Food, transportation, childcare. Everything costs more. And people accept that. They take on that financial pressure because they believe the opportunity is worth it. That's a risk calculation. You're betting that your career will advance fast enough to justify the cost. That the connections you make, the experience you gain, the resume you build will pay off eventually. And for some people, it does. For others, it doesn't. They leave after a few years, burned out and broke. But new people keep coming. The pipeline never stops. Work culture here is intense in ways that would be considered excessive elsewhere. Long hours, constant availability, the pressure to perform every single day. There's no coasting, no relaxing. The moment you slow down, you feel it. You see it in how people treat you. The opportunities start going to someone else. That's exhausting. I won't pretend it isn't. But it's also clarifying. You know exactly where you stand. There's no ambiguity, no gentle letdowns. If you're succeeding, you know. If you're failing, you know that too. The feedback is immediate and brutal. Some people love that. They need it. The clarity of constant competition, the adrenaline of never being comfortable. They couldn't function in a slower environment. They'd get restless, bored. They need the pressure to feel alive. Other people burn out. They come to New York full of ambition and leave a few years later, wondering what the point of it all was. Both responses are valid. The city doesn't care either way. It just keeps moving. I think about the relationship between speed and wisdom. Because in New York, speed is rewarded more than almost anything else. The first one to see an opportunity wins. The first one to react to news wins. Hesitation is punished. Every delay has a cost. But speed and wisdom don't always go together. Sometimes the right decision is to wait, to gather more information, to think things through. And that's hard to do in a culture that treats slowness as weakness. Some of the worst financial decisions in history were made quickly, by people who felt pressure to act, who saw everyone else moving and didn't want to be left behind. The herd mentality kicks in. Nobody wants to miss out. So everyone piles into the same trades, the same bets, the same mistakes. And then it collapses. And everyone acts surprised. But they shouldn't be, because the same dynamics that created the opportunity created the danger. Speed amplifies everything, the gains and the losses, the brilliance and the stupidity. That's the trade-off New York made. You get the rewards of speed, but you also get the crashes. You can't have one without the other. The volatility is a feature, not a bug. It's what makes the whole thing work. There's something I've noticed about how New York handles crises. It's different from other places, more chaotic on the surface, but also more adaptive. When the 2008 crisis hit, The world watched in horror. Banks failing, markets collapsing, the whole system teetering on the edge. And for a moment, it really did look like the end. Like everything Wall Street had built was about to come apart. But it didn't. The system bent, but it didn't break. Government intervention helped. Luck helped. But there was something else too. A speed of response that you don't see in more cautious cultures. Decisions made in days that would take months elsewhere. Bold moves that were risky but necessary. And within a few years, the system was back. Different in some ways, more regulated, more cautious maybe, but fundamentally running on the same principles. Risk and speed and the belief that you can always rebuild. I'm not sure whether that's admirable or terrifying. Maybe both. The resilience is real, but so is the recklessness that made the crisis possible in the first place. They're connected. You can't celebrate one without acknowledging the other. Let me return to something I said earlier about risk being the foundation of everything here. I want to sit with that idea a little longer. Because risk isn't just a financial concept in New York, it's a way of life. Every decision carries uncertainty. Every opportunity has a cost. And the culture has evolved to normalize that uncertainty, to make it feel manageable, even comfortable. People here talk about risk casually, like it's just another factor to consider, not something to fear, not something to avoid, just reality. You accept it, you factor it in, you move forward. That casual relationship with risk changes how people behave. They're more willing to quit stable jobs for uncertain opportunities, more willing to start businesses that might fail, more willing to invest in things they don't fully understand, because the alternative, playing it safe, feels like giving up. There's a cost to that. Financial insecurity is real here. People living on the edge more than they admit. One bad break away from serious trouble. The safety net is thin. The pressure never stops. And not everyone can handle it. But there's also something honest about it. New York doesn't pretend life is safe. It doesn't promise stability. It just offers the chance to try, to risk, to see what you're capable of when the stakes are real. Some people need that. They need to know what they're made of. And you can't know that in a protected environment. You can only know it when failure is a real possibility. When the pressure is genuine, I think that's why people keep coming here. Despite the cost, despite the stress, despite the difficulty, they want to test themselves against a city that doesn't go easy on anyone. And either they make it or they don't. But at least they know. It's getting late now. The city is still moving, always moving. Lights in office buildings where people are still working, bars filling up with people decompressing from the pressure, trains carrying new arrivals who think they're ready for what's coming. New York doesn't sleep because sleeping means stopping. And stopping isn't really an option here. The momentum has to be maintained. The risk has to be managed. The game has to keep going. I don't know if this is the best way to build a financial system. I honestly don't. It's created incredible wealth and incredible destruction. It's rewarded brilliance and punished caution. It's attracted the most ambitious people in the world and burned through them without much sentiment. But it's real. That's the thing I keep coming back to. New York doesn't pretend to be something it's not. The risk is out in the open. The pressure is visible. The rules are clear, even if they're harsh. And there's something almost respectful about that. A city that tells you exactly what you're getting into. That doesn't promise safety or comfort. That just offers the game. Take it or leave it. Most people take it. They can't help themselves. The opportunity is too tempting. The energy too addictive. The possibility of winning too seductive to ignore. So they come. They risk. They play. Some of them win big. Some of them lose everything. Most of them end up somewhere in between. Working harder than they ever expected. Paying more than they ever planned. Wondering sometimes if it was worth it. And the city keeps moving, indifferent to the question, because the city doesn't care about worth. It just cares about motion, about speed.